It's now time to hand out a few more awards, but before we return to our finalists, we're going to honour two individuals who have gone to great lengths to improve life after brain injury. In September of this year, after more than 2 decades leading Headway and 42 years working in the third sector, Peter McCabe retired as Chief Executive of Headway. To talk a little bit more about the impact Peter had on the charity, please welcome onto the stage the former Chair of Trustees at Headway, Andrew Green.
First of all, sorry, Peter. I knew you weren't expecting this. When Peter joined us in 2001, he took us through 2 decades of change, working with Headway, working with the groups and branches, and has achieved marvellous things. He's done a truly remarkable job developing Headway into UK's leading brain injury charity, supporting brain injury survivors and families. He steered the charity through good times and through bad times, steadily growing our income, growing our reserves, which was important, really important recently when we were coming through the pandemic, and that was vividly illustrated that we needed that money in order to survive. But Peter is particularly proud of 2 things that he was instrumental in: developing Headway's most valuable and important services, the Justice Project, the Emergency Fund. Indeed, it's fitting that both of these programs have recently passed significant milestones. More than 10,000 Headway brain injury identity cards are in circulation today, with over £500,000 distributed to 3,000 families in need of urgent assistance as a result of brain injury of a loved one. Everyone who has received support from Headway over the past 2 decades owes Peter a great debt of gratitude. His passion for social justice, his determination to improve life for all after brain injury has to be admired. Directly and indirectly, he has changed so many lives and helped so many people. And it's fair to say that he now deserves the rest that he's getting now that he has retired. Peter, everybody at Headway says thank you. Everybody at Headway wishes you a long, happy retirement and hope that you will now have time to enjoy Hector, to enjoy your family, and to get a rest. And would you like to come up and receive this award, special award, a one-off, on behalf of the trustees and the groups and branches of Headway?
Incredibly well-deserved. Congratulations on your retirement, Peter. Absolutely fantastic. What an amazing tribute to a phenomenal piece of service. Thank you. Andrew, if you could stay with us for a moment, thank you. Now, of his many notable skills, Peter's ability to nurture and develop staff was prevalent throughout his career, particularly at Headway. Following a rigorous recruitment process, a new chief executive has been appointed, and I'm delighted to invite him onto the stage to present an award to another of our special guests. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the new Chief Executive of Headway, Luke Griggs.
Thank you, Sam. I'd like to extend my own personal thanks to Peter on his retirement, while adding a note of thanks for the work that he's done. And I had the pleasure of reporting to Peter directly for 15 years. I learned an awful lot in that time, some of it actually quite useful. I did too, Peter, wish you a very, very happy retirement, a well-deserved retirement. Thank you. Andrew Green rightly acknowledged Peter's commitment to Headway over many, many years. What he failed to mention, however, is that after 13 years of acting as chair of the trustees at Headway, Andrew Green stepped down from that role at the July general meeting for the charity. During that time, Andrew made an outstanding contribution to the charity, with his leadership attributed as one of the key reasons for Headway's success. He showed wisdom, sound judgment, and courage, and commitment to supporting those affected by brain injury in an exceptional way. And he remains doing so to this day. I'm delighted to say that Andrew has agreed to stay on the board as a co-opted trustee for a little bit longer, and we are very grateful for his contribution. Will continue. And on behalf of the trustees and the staff, past and present, I'd like to offer you, Andrew, a debt of gratitude. Yep, you two don't get away with actually the embarrassment of having an award on stage.
I was inspiring against people all the time. They were inspiring. Thank you very much.
Over the years, Headway has developed important relationships with politicians willing to champion the causes of those affected by brain injury. Many have become Headway parliamentary champions, speaking regularly on behalf of survivors or promoting the work of the charity in debates in parliaments around the UK. There are not many politicians, however, that are more committed and passionate about brain injury than Chris Bryant MP. In addition to being a published author, as I recently discovered, Chris is the Member of Parliament for the Rhondda and has chaired the all-party parliamentary group on acquired brain injury since its relaunch in November 2017. Since then, he has tirelessly campaigned to improve access to brain injury rehabilitation and support services at all stages of the care pathway for anyone affected by brain injury. And in what can only be described as a remarkable achievement, in December last year, Chris succeeded in persuading Boris Johnson to develop a cross-party governmental strategy on ABI. Since then, Chris has been at the heart of extensive work to understand what change is needed, while bringing together various government departments to develop new and equitable ways of supporting brain injury survivors and carers. Whether visiting Headway groups and branches, speaking at the charity's conferences, or speaking up for survivors in Parliament, Chris is a true Headway champion. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Chris onto the stage to receive a special award for improving life after brain injury.
Thank you very much. I didn't get the grey suit memo, by the way. And I've got a little bit of shingles at the moment, hence the turtleneck. Look, first of all, on Wednesday morning, actually, no, I'll start with Sam Peters, actually, because for me, this all started with Sam Peters. I got an email from the Mail on Sunday on a Saturday morning, and MPs don't normally like emails from the Mail on Sunday on a Saturday morning. It normally means you're about to be done over. And he wanted somebody to understand a bit more about what I would then have called concussion in rugby, but I now want to call brain injury in rugby. And that kind of started the relationship that we've had over the years. And actually with quite a few Conservative, I'm Labour, obviously. Well done. Anyway. But I actually worked very closely with Chris Heaton-Harris, who's now the Northern Ireland Secretary, and John Glenn, who's the Chief Secretary to the Treasury, on trying to get together national protocols on all sports. Because a child that plays football one day may play netball the next day, may play basketball or something completely differently. So you've got to have the same across all the sports. And that then spread to talking about acquired brain injury. Now, I'm afraid I'm going to be very rude. I'm going to give you this back today for a very simple reason. I'm co-chairing the National Strategy Programme Board in the government to try and have a national strategy across every part of government on acquired brain injury. And I don't want to take anything until we've got a national strategy. So I hope I'll be able to come back next year, if you could keep it warm. But I don't think I should get a silver plate until such time as we actually have a national strategy. Because, Dave, you said earlier that you can see the, obviously if you're Welsh, you'd be die. But anyway, but you said you could see the kind of hole in the head, as it were. But of course, for most people with brain injury, there's no outward sign at all. And half of what we're trying to do is deal with the stigma of people not understanding that the person standing in front of you in the queue, no, they're not drunk. They're slurring their words because they've not remembered your name because they've had a brain injury. And so trying to transform that, let alone on Wednesday morning in Parliament, we had this absolutely the most amazing session I can remember in my life. And I've been an MP for 21 years. It was about kids who've had brain injury. And we had a room full. There was Amelia, there was Eden, there was Spike, who's quite amazing. They all talked about the isolation they'd felt when they'd had a brain injury in their teenage years. And then there was Oscar, who is now 7, who'd had a major stroke when he was 6. And you know, all the stories that the families were telling about being pushed from pillar to post and schools not understanding and the kids losing all their friends and all of those things. It was just the most, in one sense, heartwarming, because every single one of those children was absolutely amazing, and also the most upsetting session that I've had in all my time in Parliament. So thank you very much for all of this. And Peter, you've been an absolutely amazing person. There can't be many people in the charity field in Britain who've achieved as much as you have. So an enormous thank you because I've met so many people now with brain injuries who've been helped by Headway, and a lot of that is down to you personally and the charity that you helped build over the years. So to Peter, a big round of applause, please. And if it's all right, I'll come back next year when we will, I swear to God, have a Labour... No, have a... Stop. I'm being naughty. Stop it. No, when we will, I hope to God, I swear to God, I will do everything in my power to make sure that we have a national strategy for acquired brain injury so nobody gets pushed from pillar to post, so everybody gets the neurorehabilitation that they really receive, so that we have proper protocols, so that everybody in education and in the Department for Work and Pensions understands brain injury and is able to support people rather than make them spend all their energy on dealing with the system rather than trying to mend their own brains. That's what we will do. Thank you very much.
Well, what absolutely inspiring words there, Chris. thank you so much for your kind words as well. I think you're rocking the turtleneck, but I mean, more importantly, absolutely, you know, a real force for good within Parliament, and I'm sure everyone in here shares my support for Chris and what he's doing. Absolutely fantastic.